Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So, Roy Jones Jr., right? I'm gonna tell you, I support Roy Jones. This man, people are calling him a traitor. People are saying that he has no moral compass. Kind of like what Vladimir Klitschko was saying. But Roy Jones, he doesn't have a dog in the fight, man, between Russia and Ukraine. And I'm glad Roy Jones came out to speak up for himself. But at the same time, I think Vladimir Putin played Roy Jones. I really do. You see, back in 2015, Roy Jones visited Crimea, and during that time, he had the opportunity to drink tea with Vladimir Putin. And for those of you who don't know who that is, he's the president of the Russian Federation and the person who's behind what's going on right now between Russia and Ukraine. And I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is what's going on right now, okay? But with Roy Jones, when he went out there to Russia, somehow he had this idea on becoming a Russian citizen, okay? And during that meeting, he sat down, he explained to President Putin why he believed he'd be a valuable asset to the Russian economy. And, he talked about plans to try to start a business there, including a boxing gym. And something along the lines of saying a Russian passport would have made it easier for him to do business inside or within the country's borders, okay? So, based on that explanation that he gave President Putin, must have been satisfactory. And a few weeks after that, it was announced on the Kremlin's website that Putin had signed a decree granting Roy Jones Jr. a Russian citizenship so long as he spent a significant part of his life working in Russia. Okay, so let's stop right there, okay? Now, how Roy Jones ended up in this situation, I'm going to tell you how he ended up in it, okay? Maybe he really had plans on trying to open up a business there and a whole boxing gym and training amateur boxers in Russia or wherever that he could go. But I think there's two things that happen. One, when you're not spun up on politics, when you don't have a public affairs rep that you're working with, okay? Because you can end up in a situation like what Roy Jones has kind of ended up in. You can get caught up in the whole moment of sitting down with the president of a country. Just being in the workplace and having the CEO of the job where it's somebody who you don't see often, and then one day the person's going to show up. They shut things down and everybody has to go and listen to him speak. And you can kind of be in awe of this individual. But now we're talking about the president of a country, okay? You can kind of be caught up in the moment and in awe, and you're sitting there and you're drinking tea with them. You're not really comfortable. Sometimes you find yourself saying things and there's this kind of weird, awkward kind of silence because you're kind of out of place. I think Roy Jones was kind of out of place, and found himself talking about some things maybe he wanted to do, instead of really sitting back and saying, let me find another country where I can go do this, because historically it's shown with certain places, they're all about propaganda. And if they can find a well-known public figure outside of their country, in particular from a country with which where there's a bit of dissent towards, and they can get them to speak positively about them, they will do that. Now, I think that's what happened to Roy Jones, because I don't think he really knew what he was getting himself into. And the other thing is that, so I think he was caught up in the kind of awed by the fact that he had an opportunity to do something that he hadn't had before, especially in America. Okay. The second thing is, and you hear this a lot, right? In America, Roy Jones didn't feel like he was appreciated. He didn't feel like he was valued. Okay. So he goes over to Russia, and I think the kind of whole thing, like with him being caught up in the awe moment, sitting there with Putin and drinking tea, I think especially in that boxing community in Russia, when Roy Jones comes over there, it's like the same thing. They're caught up in awe. And everybody wants to have him talk to them, share things with them. They want to take pictures with him. He's a celebrity. And especially in that boxing community over there. So I think there was something, a void in him that was filled by, and it may be anywhere he went, but in particular in Russia, there's a void in Roy Jones that was filled. And I think that's how Roy Jones ended up being blinded to what he could be facing or susceptible to as far as backlash from people in the United States and other countries, long term, opposed to being embraced in the short term by the Russian community and Putin. Okay, so that's what I think are the two things that put Roy in the position that he's in right now. Now, of course, at that time where he decided to go out there and become a Russian citizen, he knew about the Cold War. He knew about the beef between the United States and Russia. Things have never really been great. But he made a decision to do that. He didn't know there was going to be a war going on, okay? But at the end of the day, those are the risks that you inherit when you go out there and start becoming embedded with some of these other countries, okay? Now this is the thing. This is the thing, right? When Roy Jones says he was motivated by a feeling that he was and would be more widely accepted in Russia than in the United States. Because Roy Jones went on to make a statement saying, after his arrival in Russia, he saw that there was a large community of boxers that I was talking about, right? And he felt appreciated, something he didn't feel in America. Now, why do you think he felt that way? I don't know. He didn't expound. But I'm sure some of you have opinions of why Roy Jones felt that way, okay? And my thing is this. This is where he messed up to me. That's why some people have frowned their face at him since he's gone over to Russia and got his citizenship. He said he felt like the people there embraced him and treated him better and appreciated him more than in his own country. Those are things that, when it comes to propaganda and a guy like Putin, right? Those are things he wants you to say. Now, with me and my background, okay, and learning about the law of armed conflict, being a POW, okay, there's certain things you just don't say. Even if your ass gets caught, there's certain things you don't do, certain things you don't say. You understand? You just don't do it. But he doesn't come from that background. So he's more or less talking from his true emotions and how he's feeling. where he could have said, I'm here to train. He could have kept it simple, but he didn't have to come and say, make it seem like the country is treating him better than how he gets treated in the United States. Okay? But then again, he can say what he wants. But then we're cut from two different cloths, two different backgrounds, we've been experience levels. Okay? So certain things you're just not going to hear me say. It's just not going to happen. Okay? I know better. Because come back to haunt you. Especially when you're talking about politics and propaganda, and look at what he has going on right now. Okay? Coming back to haunt him. But this is the thing, I don't think he did his due diligence, because there was a time, right? I don't know how many of y'all knew this, but right before Roy Jones went over there trying to pursue his Russian citizenship in 2015, which he was granted, you had Putin was really close with Steven Seagal. Now you may say, who the hell is Steven Seagal? Y'all don't remember that? Hiya! Mr. Guy touch you up and break your arm and whatever's martial arts he claimed he specialized in, that I don't think him or Van Damme were real, guys that'll kick your ass, but he was supposed to, whatever. Y'all know Seagal, man, the guy in the movies, right? Breaking bones and all kind of stuff, right? But Seagal's relationship with Putin in particular was pretty fascinating at the time, right? Because it appeared that he planned to use Seagal, not a young Seagal, an aging Seagal, as a tool for diplomatic relations between Russia and the United States. Kind of like a similar situation Roy Jones was finding himself put in, right? Something to kind of bridge the gap a little bit, or to have someone speak positively about Crimea, about Russia. But he went a little further with Seagal, okay? So Seagal proposed to the Obama administration back in 2013 that Seagal be appointed as Russia's honorary consul in several U.S. states. It would have appointed Seagal as an official envoy and mediator between Washington and the Kremlin. Of course, Obama was flabbergasted by the proposal and rejected it, because Seagal is not qualified, and you can't be a United States citizen in bed with Putin and coming back to represent on behalf of the Russians, but do it in a sense of you trying to now build relations between the two countries. Like, Seagal's not a politician, man. And you're going to sit there and let this guy use you and your star power to advance whatever his agenda is. And so anyway, long story short with Seagal, everything that they tried to push with him, even back as recent as 2018, tried to appoint him in charge of the Russian-U.S. humanitarian ties. That got shot down too. Nobody wanted to hear it. Okay? So this isn't something new for Putin, where he can form a relationship with a high-profile athlete or star and then try to use them as a way in a political manner to where it somehow puts him in a much better position diplomatically. Just didn't really work out that well for Seagal, right? But when it comes to Roy Jones Jr., he is no different, okay? He's no different to his fellow Russian converts, right? He's no different. Roy Jones is out there in Russia wearing the hat. He's out there at different ceremonies wearing military uniforms. That's what you see in these two pictures, man. Let me tell you, right? Now, people who aren't aware of all this is going on, now if you're going over to train amateurs and run a boxing program and spend 6 months out the year in Russia, okay? Because these are things he has to do. If he's not doing that, they may kill him, okay? So this is stuff that I don't even. Maybe he doesn't want to accept it, but you come this far, and you can't just come and turn your back on everything Nah, man, they gave you something. You have to give them back something. And you can't decide when you're going to stop. Who knows what they'll do to Roy Jones Jr.? We know for sure that citizenship will be revoked, right? We know that. But what else may happen to him if he voices he wants to have a conversation and he no longer wants to, be involved in the amateur program and hey, sorry, but just it's a little bit of a misunderstanding. It's been bit off more than I can chew. So I just want to, kind of pack up and give y'all back this big hat and go on back to the United States, Pensacola, where I can fight my cocks and catch bluegill out my pond. Man, you think Putin gonna sit there and sip tea with him and listen to that? Roy Jones gonna go up missing. You know what happened with that one American over there in Korea, where he went and stole something out of North Korea, was trying to take a poster or a painting, and they put that man in jail, and his parents came to get him. He was a vegetable. Okay, now I'm not saying that to make light of that. What I'm telling you is, when you're messing around in these other countries, and there's political crap going on, and you somehow find yourself enveloped in that, things start happening. Okay? And there's something else with Roy Jones. I personally think he's in too deep, honestly. I do. I think he had good intentions, just didn't have the public affair reps around him the way he should have. Now, I don't know this. This is just me looking at it. And he went with something that he kind of stubbornly said, this is something I want to do, I'm going to go do it. I don't care what nobody says. These people treat me good. They treat me with respect. I'm appreciated here. I'm more appreciated here than I am in America. So why the hell am I going to hang around America when I can't get a 1/100th of the things that I want to do as far as my ambitions? I can't get none of that accomplished. I come over to Russia, I can get it all done. Of course you can get it done. Because in turn, there's certain things they're going to want from you. Just you being over here doing that speaks volumes. That says a lot. But I'm not sure he really understood that. And if he did, he didn't care. Because this is the thing, right? Who does this sound like, okay? Roy Jones came out on the UFC Unfiltered podcast. And what he said about Putin, right? He said, Putin is just misunderstood. And that sound like Dennis Rodman when he went over there to North Korea? Kim Jong-un is just misunderstood. He's a good guy. He's a great person. Now, I'm not saying they're right for those statements. I'm not saying they're wrong. What I'm telling you is, when you come out and say stuff like this, right? We all know what propaganda is. That's what they want. Want you to say those things. And when you continue on and say stuff, to me, he's a man's man. What Roy Jones saying about Putin, right? He does things that men are really highly engaged in. So Roy Jones is speaking for all men now, okay? He's generalizing, okay? He'll fish. All men fish. He hunts. All men hunt, right? Everybody out here with bow and arrow shooting shit out the air and out there behind the bushes. Everyone got a shotgun or a 22 rifle. Everyone out there hunting squirrel and raccoon and shooting armadillo and stuff, right? That's what Roy Jones is saying. And Putin boxes. So he's a man's man. He does what all men do. He hunts, fish, and he boxes. He does taekwondo. He does aikido. Things that men love. I don't love no damn taekwondo and aikido. I love boxing. I like to eat curry chicken, curry goat. You know what I'm saying? I like spending time with my kids. I like fishing, though. I mean, maybe that, I kind of agree with that, but all the other stuff is crazy. He says that's just who he is. He's a man of his word. Yeah, when it comes to giving you citizenship and having you be a face for his country, he's going to, certain things up front, he's going to give you because it's an investment, fool, of what he's looking at long term and what he's getting from you. And I'm not sure how much of a return he got on that investment, but I'm not sure if Roy Jones training any of the amateurs that Roy Jones has trained in Russia going off to the Olympics and doing anything outstanding. See, so I failed you all by not looking that up. But that's what I would be very interested in finding out. Since Roy Jones has been over this since 2015, 16 is 22, 6 years now. That's more than enough time to have worked with some of these amateur circuits out there to develop at least one to go out into the Olympics and make some noise. So I'm not sure that's happened, man. But it is what it is. And Roy Jones even continued on. He said the problem people have with him is that if he says he's going to do something, there ain't no question that he's going to do it. Well, I mean, again, Roy Jones speaking for Putin, speaking positively about him. I have nothing but love and respect for a person like that because that's the way life should be. This is what I like about Mr. Putin. If he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. Look, you want to be a Russian citizen? Bam. I can make that happen. It's just that simple. Yeah, and it's also that simple for him to go out there, man, and decide to invade countries, or if he wants to sit there and initiate a nuclear war, or whatever he wants to do. But this is where he kind of have tunnel vision. He had those blinders on. He can't see all the other stuff out there because he doesn't have situational awareness. He doesn't have the right people. He didn't have the right people, in my opinion, in his ear. I'm not sure what kind of briefings he had to undergo. I'm not sure what kind of clearances and different things he had to go through. He's a high-profile athlete. I'm sure there had to be something. But the way he's speaking and going out there, it was speaking then and even now. And I think now that there's been probably a bit more dialogue. But then initially when all this happened, I don't think that he had anyone talking to him. I think he was just out there like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. Y'all must have forgot. And now he's out here, and he's looking crazy. You know, and he's very careful about his words, man. Right now, he's not saying Putin's a great guy. Right now, he's not saying Putin's a man's man. He's not saying that no more. All he's saying is war's not good. And he's very careful of what he's saying. Roy, no, he can't come out there and say nothing bad about Putin. You can't say anything bad about it. You can't. Roy's in a very, very precarious position. And he put himself in that. Now, people are calling him a traitor and stuff like that. He didn't do anything, in my opinion, to call himself a traitor, but I'm a guy who kind of understands this a little bit better than some. He just didn't really know what he was getting himself into. He wasn't looking long-term, man. He was just looking at the immediate reward that he was getting. And this is something he wanted. And this is something that he wanted to get when he was from the United States that they wouldn't give him. Now he's getting it here. You're not getting any love, and now someone's giving you love. Where are you going to gravitate towards? But there's real love and there's fake love. Okay? But anyway, Roy Jones spends about 6 months out of the year in Russia, and he spent a lot of time with different oligarchs over there too. Okay? Now, I'm not sure if Roy Jones gets any tax breaks as a result of being a Russian citizen, but I'd have to say there has to be some kind of additional benefits that we're not privy to in order for this man to be over there as a Russian citizen. Okay? It's not just over the training boxes. I just don't think that. But he was pictured at a Victory Day parade at the Red Square in Moscow. He shared his experience on social media. That's this image I have here. You can't click on it, so if you tried, sorry. Where he's wearing a blue suit and military headgear. That picture alone, for me, nowhere in the world you could get me to put on no military headgear from no other country. Nowhere in the world you can get me to wear no damn blue suit or blue uniform or anything that resembles something that they would be wearing there, as far as their leader, their military. It is no way in the world you can get me to put that on. Period. Okay? And with him, the blue suit, if there's no insignias Nothing on there that would identify or result in identifying him as someone being a military member or anything. If it's just a regular suit, but if it resembles something their military is wearing, I'm not wearing that. If they're wearing blue and I'm wearing a tangerine color suit, I'm wearing bright yellow. Like, I'm going to make sure they know mine looks nothing like theirs. And I sure as hell not wearing a military hat. But then again, they're treating them with love. They're showing them all this attention. He gonna do whatever they say because he's like, oh wow, man, these people are embracing me. Shit, I in America. I go to a military base and nobody giving me no hat to wear. Nobody taking me on an incentive flight, flying me in an F-16. Nobody's doing that for me. I come to Russia. Look at how I'm being treated. So I just think he's just been put in certain situations where he just didn't have the awareness. And he just doesn't have the background. He doesn't have the training. He hasn't been through multiple briefings to know kind of what to do and what not to do. And if you're not sure, you have a public affairs rep or someone where you route that stuff through. You don't get caught up in that. And you definitely don't come out there and speak or say anything more favorable about the country you're in than the country where you're from. You just shut up. It's not hard to shut up. But while it remains unclear why Jones accepted that citizenship, back then he was a valuable propaganda tool, and today he's still a very valuable propaganda tool for Putin and the Kremlin. And Roy Jones has, since 2015-16, repeatedly praised Putin, defended his political decision-making. You hear what I said? He defended his political decision-making and visited dictators such as Kadyrov to discuss potential cooperation. Things he shouldn't be doing. He's not a damn politician. If he was visiting coaches from different gyms or somebody who's the head of sports and fitness of the country, or whatever the titles may be, right? That's different. What the hell are you doing there messing with politicians, man? Anyway, but he's been placed in the spotlight before. He's been placed in it again. Klitschko put him in the spotlight, and now everybody's paying attention to Roy Jones right now and his affiliation with Russia. It's kind of peeled the scab back on it to just hey, so what exactly is Roy Jones doing out there? Like where people have just kind of forgot about it. Yeah, we must have forgot. Well, now we're talking about it again, Roy. So, for those of you who didn't know that, man, that's Roy Jones Jr.'s story, man. I personally think he was playing checkers, looking at what he wasn't getting. Putin made sure he got everything he wanted to make him feel like the great Roy Jones, the Captain Hook, and this ambassador of sports, and someone the country could use. And everyone loves Roy Jones. Don't get me wrong. Roy Jones was probably the best fighter in the 90s. And may have been the best fighter pound for pound we've ever seen. Okay, those are facts. But I just when I see the situations he's in, I'm gonna tell you, I support Roy Jones going out there and taking his wisdom and imparting that and trying to develop athletes. He does it in the States as well. Okay, my only concern is he can't. You can't stop that train that he has going now. Like, you can't just come now and say, okay, I'm ready to jump off. Like, you just can't do that. That's not something that you can do. And you look at, like, with Dennis Rodman, right? Dennis Rodman and Roy Jones, they're in the same bucket as far as them being famous, being associated to a sport. Being champions, being influential. But as far as someone who you think would have a little bit more damn common sense, they're not in the same bucket. You would expect Roy to kind of know not to get himself in a situation to where people are talking about him the way they're talking about him right now. And I don't think Roy did anything wrong, but I just question. I don't think Roy did anything wrong with wanting to go and help boxers. But I think where he was speaking positively and saying things about Putin is where you start having issues. I think if he can go back on that, he could say it a little differently. As far as my interaction with him, he treated me very pleasantly, and that's all I know. He can't come now and say, "Oh, he's misunderstood," because now when you make a statement like that, it's as if you're saying everyone there in over there in the White House and then in D.C. they don't know what they're talking about. They're labeling this man as a narcissistic madman who will push that damn nuclear button and blow up everybody if he gets an opportunity, if he gets mad. You know, there are people over there in D.C., we may not all agree with the things they say and stuff like that, but there's some of that stuff that, you know, sometimes we just need to let the politicians be the politicians and not comment on things outside of areas that we have control over. And Roy doesn't have any control over any of that stuff that's going on. And I think that stuff is coming back to bite him now. Because when Vladimir Klitschko said what he said, "Roy, which side are you on?" And I was like, man, what the hell is he talking about? And that's why I went back and I said, let me understand why he would make a statement like that. And I was like, well, damn. When I went out to the internet and did my research, I'm like, okay, and just with my background, I'm like, that shit could get me, you know, even now, but especially, you know, back in the day, that could get you in a lot of hot water depending on your position. But, you know, he's not in those situations like I was in. But he's still an American. And, you know, I think it goes back to, like, again, not feeling really accepted. All the great things he's done in boxing, all those great things, right? And there's still a part of him that felt like in America, no one really showed him that respect. I think it goes back to just, maybe it has something to do with race, okay? Maybe it has something to do with the fact that they robbed him of that gold medal, okay? And then maybe it has something to do with people saying that he fought nobodies, okay? Although he was highly touted and praised for everything he did in boxing, there were still a lot of people who were like, hey, he fought nobodies. And it had a lot to do with just guys who was in his weight division, he had to fight who was there. And then two, is he was so talented, he made guys look average. So then he goes all the way up. I mean, shit, 5 different weight divisions, fights a heavyweight, wins a belt. So, I mean, there are always going to be negative people out there. And I'm not one of those. But what I will say is, Roy Jones Jr. is proud of what he's doing in Russia. I think he needed that Russian passport to make it easier for him to get that stuff off the ground. I think he appreciates Putin understanding his vision, and I think he shares some of Putin's vision. But I'm not sure Roy Jones was really prepared for things that could come up long term as a result of his decision to be heavily immersed in the amateur boxing programs in Russia. If he would have really had a little bit more awareness, man, I don't think he would have done that. I don't think so. I think he would have just taken his energy and stuff, maybe go to England, you know, do that in England, you know, do that in somewhere that's a low threat area, somewhere where there's a amicable relationship between the U.S. and that country. But to go somewhere that's considered hostile, not U.S. friendly, it's just not what you want to do. There's no difference with him going to Russia and him going to North Korea. You guys understand? There's no difference. I don't care what you say. It's the same thing. There's no difference. Okay? But I'm not here to say whether he's right or he's wrong. I see both sides of the argument. But I'm curious to see over the next year or two especially if things between Russia and Ukraine continue to, if it doesn't resolve itself. I'm very interested to see what Roy Jones, what his position is going to be, because I know he's emotionally attached to those fighters in Russia that he's helping. But I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to walk away from that situation. I don't think it's going to work like that. Okay? And if so, I just don't think it'd be safe for him to try to do that. But he's a lot smarter now than he was back then when he was saying all these nice things about Putin. He's not saying that now. He's not going to say nothing bad either. He's learned to kind of remain reticent. Still hasn't learned to quite shut up. But he's gotten better. But he's not where we need him. We need Roy Jones to just shut up. Because I just would hate to see him have to incur additional stress and crap unfairly just because he genuinely wants to help boxers in another country. And he's doing it in the United States, and he does it anywhere he goes, man. That man really likes helping boxers. But at the same time, I get it. I see both sides of the argument. But anyway, man, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to all the veterans. Shout out to Roy Jones, man, for doing what he wants to do. But at the same time, this game isn't for the swift. It's for those who can endure. And Roy Jones, I hope he can endure, because, man, this isn't going nowhere anytime soon. And it's always going to come up as long as he's alive. There's always going to be questions about it, and he's going to have to deal with that BS. But anyway, y'all keep cool. I appreciate the support, and as always, I'm in the breeze.